Mr. Rush has one final question for Dr. Orban real quickly. Thank you.
Of course, sir.
Thank you, Dr. O'Bain. I panicked because I saw you gathering your stuff because I know you have to depart. But I have one question. So far, DOE has granted 7 export applications. And my understanding is that the export terminals being built to export this LNG have already signed long-term contracts to supply LNG to China, Japan, Korea, and India, where natural gas prices are higher than in Europe. And the question is there any reason to believe that LNG exported from the U.S. will go to Europe rather than to Asia?
Thank you, Ranking Member Rush. Yes, there is. Of course, the more gas on the market is the better for us. It has already indirect impact, but the Asian market's absorption capacity is also limited, obviously. And as soon as it reaches its limit in terms of price difference, the European market comes next. And don't forget that our countries are ready to pay a surplus for energy security, which is above, of course, market price. So we have every reason to believe that if either the expediting process is expedited, the process is expedited, or we have the law, then we would have contracts to supply the European market with US LNG.
Thank you, Dr. Orban. I know you have an important meeting as reported in the newspapers this morning to attend, so please, Mr. Baucus, if you'd like to finish where we left off, I apologize for interrupting, but I know Dr. Orban had a meeting. Thank you.
Of course, of course. Good job.
So if you, I cut you off. I don't know if you'd like to continue that, and then we'll be.
That's all right, and I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. As I said earlier, I think it's important that the committee consider WTO obligations before enacting legislation rather than learn about them afterwards, and I commend you for doing just that. Conceivably, the United States and other members of the WTO could impose trade restrictions and indeed a trade embargo on Russia, even though Russia is a member of the WTO. This need not be limited to natural gas or other energy products. It could include other products. This would be ordinarily in violation of WTO obligations. It could be challenged by Russia in WTO dispute settlement, but if the Russians did challenge it, we would then have a defense. The defense would be under Article 21 of the GATT, which deals with national security and is a general exception to general obligations, such as the one on not imposing restrictions on exports. This general defense has never been the subject of much jurisprudence in the WTO. One of my great accomplishments as a judge there was that I was able to get out of Geneva alive without having to say what it meant. But presumably, we would have this defense. It clearly is in the GATT, and I can't imagine that judges in the WTO would question any country's assertion of its national security interest, nor can I imagine that they would not see a national security concern here, especially if we did not proceed alone, but proceeded along with a number of our trading partners.